All right, calling the Village of Cross Plains Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee of July 2nd, 2025. To order, roll call please.
Tim Hillebrand.
Here.
Michael Polmakowski. Dave Mickling.
Here.
Paul Barth.
Here.
Lauren Sabord, is that here? Savord. Okay. Jay Langfeld.
Here. All right, we'll go on to public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the Finance Advisory Enhancement Committee. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes. While the Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee encourages input from residents that may not discuss or act on any issue not duly noticed on the agenda. I don't see anybody here. Would anybody on the internet like to speak? All right, we'll move to reports. I have nothing to add that's not on the agenda. Committee members, anybody? No?
Looks good to me.
All right, Finance Director?
I don't have anything tonight either.
Okay. So we will go to general business. First one is discussion and possible approval of the June 4th, 2025 Finance Advisory and Enhancement Committee minutes. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Thank you for doing it. Yes.
Thanks.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. Number 2, discussion and possible action regarding review of purchases and policy bid tabulation forms, if any. Anybody have anything on that? All right.
Come on, guys, really? Like, normally you got all the questions? Nothing?
So we'll go to number 3 then. Discussion and possible action regarding financial reports.
Report. This is the
Like the monthly, these statements here, or financial statements.
Is this where the I want to see it was Amazon purchases or was that on the check?
That was the one before.
Wow.
Well, you
Okay.
It's not like we take action on these. Are
Yeah, just to ask questions.
Yeah, was there? I don't. I'm just curious. What do we have a sense of what those were?
I don't know. Let me.
It's like 490 bucks. Oh,
Oh, I forgot. Do you know what page it was by chance? No.
no, I will take notes on pages in the future though.
Let's see where I'm typing.
Just so are these just supplies? Is there anything?
So these ones are the library.
All right.
There has to be, isn't there more?
It's not really material.
Oh,
It's just more like.
yeah, the ones that actually Amazon, the library pays with a check.
Okay.
But any other Amazon purchases would be with our credit cards.
Which I didn't know you could pay Amazon with a check. That's pretty cool.
They have, yeah, they.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah, Sync Bank, Amazon, every month.
Yeah, they send like an invoice and then we just pay the invoices.
Yeah, it's just like,
Basically. Okay.
my wife's a Prime member, so every month, yeah. All right, think Chronic Bank, I think it's called, and you put slash.
Synchrony.
Sync, well, something like that.
Yeah.
Bank, and then it slash Amazon.
Okay.
All right.
That was more of a curiosity.
I don't know if that's the case or not. Obviously being a Prime member, you don't ever pay postage and get Prime TV. Okay.
Is the Michael that's on, is that Michael Polmakowski? Can you clarify, please?
Yes, this is me, Bobby.
All right, thanks. I just want to make sure or mark down that you showed up then for the minutes.
Well,
Yeah,
no
thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sorry it's a little late.
No problem. All right, any other questions on?
Anything on the finance report? All right, we'll go to number 4, Cross Plains Area EMS Review and Financial Analysis. There's 2 parts here. Part A is discussion and possible action regarding the Cross Plains Area EMS Review and Financial Analysis Report. I'm hoping that everybody got the last copy. Thank you, Paul, for putting that together. So tonight, I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable with that, and then we will move it on to the board for at the end of this month. So I know, Tim, you had some suggestions on modifications. You want to go through with yours first?
Yeah, I just said the one on the chart where you list by year the number of calls, I think, was, that one there, that could be split back down, so it's just one from 17 through 24 in a row, instead of having to split it and jump back up.
What's that?
It's kind of doing the same thing we did with the other one, make that just one column instead of 2, so.
Yeah.
Well, you did it with the location of calls for service. This is the actual number of calls for service.
Okay,
It's the one above, so it's just, because you can see 21,
Yeah.
22, 23, 24 aren't
sure.
bolded, so you moved it on there.
Yeah. That's
Do you want me to send you an email, or do you just want to do it from here? You know, keep it in your head.
Yeah.
And then you'll send it to me when you're done?
Yep.
Okay. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else, I have a question for Dave.
Oh.
Okay. There's so when you look at, go to the breakdown revenue scenarios. Yeah, there you go. So scenario, the one on the far left comes out with everybody staying, and it's 485,163.
Yeah.
Then when you go to the one on the far right, which would be us paying everything, we lose about a little less than $600. And I would have thought that they would have been the same. You see what I'm talking about?
It's because of the adjustments that were dealt with,
On top somewhere?
ambulance fees and some of the, because if you look at, it's assuming that,
Just like rounding maybe or something.
we'll keep all the,
Oh, like
the
that.
total expenses that have been covered, it just,
But wouldn't 100% of the cost needs to be covered, no matter if everybody's in or nobody else is in?
because remember I put some there was some stuff where we made some assumptions that,
Oh, I thought you said you took those out.
no.
Oh, okay.
We
All right.
because they weren't that significant.
Right.
So just, I guess I just left them in.
Okay, no, that's fine, as long as I can explain it if someone asks, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so like the reason why it's a little bit higher at that point versus that is it has to do with the drop in ambulance revenue and
right,
it's how that, the assumptions that were made for that.
okay. And then, the other one that I have, it would be on page, well, on that one too, if you go to the top of it. Is there a way of getting rid of figure 5 on there? Because I modified the narrative not to use figure 5.
Mhm.
So can we eliminate figure 5 or put it here?
You're editing it.
Oh, perfect.
Ooh,
Okay, perfect. That was it. And then
Just take out figure 5.
just the word. I mean, we want we want
the label, thank you, yeah. Take out the label.
We just want the figure 5 out because I don't
Yeah.
refer to it in the body of the report anymore. Yeah. And then on page 12, we just need to put a period at the very last sentence of estimated staff impact.
Actually went through and contemplated labeling all the figures, even though they weren't called out, but
Oh,
I've taken it out.
okay.
And then where is it?
After, right here,
Consultant fees, period.
Yep. That's all I had. Otherwise, I think it's good to go.
I'm gonna save it. I'll send it. I wanna look at it on my computer because
Yeah.
iPad doesn't quite do it justice.
Sure.
So I just wanna make sure it's good, but I'll send it to you.
Okay, that sounds good. And then is everybody okay then with that, with those changes? All right, yeah.
You guys can't imagine how much time I spent staring at this, and I appreciate you guys finding the errors. It's just another example of where like, it's not possible to be your own editor.
No,
Just not possible.
no, agreed 100% on that. That's why I really appreciate you doing this, because it makes it a lot, because you're right, you think you see something that's not there, or you think it isn't. Yeah, so really appreciate it. You did a great job. Did a great job on it. All right, so, can we have a motion then to accept this, report? With the recommended changes?
Motion to accept the emergency medical services document with the noted changes.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same. So it'll go to the board, 28th, I believe.
Of July, yeah.
Yep. So number B was not something that, I know you guys weren't expecting it and I wasn't planning for Bobby and I to put it together, but, this was to me gonna be coming at the August meeting, but the community's already started the discussion on this. Yeah, actually, quite a bit. I'm not on social media, but I hear it's on social media, but I was at the, public safety meeting and it was brought up there, so I kind of took them off guard, so.
That's the problem.
Yeah, well, EMS staff wants to get the discussion going. So-
I'm supportive of it.
Yeah.
Just-
Oh, yeah, it's really good. So what Bobby and I did, we figured, well, if we're doing this, we might as well get started too. So we kind of put a PowerPoint presentation together and I can quickly kind of just, I'm not gonna go the whole thing. But we'll go through each slide and give you an idea of what it's supposed to cover. And then you can give any ideas of what other, information from the report. So this PowerPoint, the intent is to bring, some of the important information that we think everybody should know from the report, but they can always go to the report for the detailed part of it. And then, since the discussion has been around option one, it focuses on option one. So, again, I was looking for something that would take about 15-20 minutes, because, that's what we probably would have if we went to a township board. Same thing with, a meeting, public meeting, we certainly want us to have a lot of time to answer questions and fill in what people want. So that's kind of with the intent of this. Now, this is probably not what we will present to the board in September. That'll probably be a little different because they'll want to know different information. So keep that in mind that this is more
They'll
for,
want the content in the Word doc, in PowerPoint,
yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
Because I would want the detail too.
Right, right. So when you take this in, would be the presentation, understanding that people have the ability to read the report to get a lot of the detail from it. So the first slide basically goes through what would stay the same, what this report doesn't talk about, what this group doesn't talk about, and what the board really isn't going to talk about. So that's what the first slide goes through. And this goes through the reasons why we're looking at this. And this is probably new to some of you and this is again, part of the outside of our analysis, but it kind of goes through some of the reasoning why we should really be looking at it.
I have a question.
Sure.
So why are there large increases in budgets?
Well, if you'll see in later on, the main reason for increases in budget, you'll see later on when I show that is we went from a volunteer service to a paid service. So that's pretty much
So it's answering why was there a large increase in the budget?
yeah. Yeah, yes, and that'll be explained more later on.
I concur with kind of your question though. My counsel would be, you have why in the top, I would say like, why are we having this conversation or what? Give me a little more why, what. It's like, so-
Okay, so I struggled with it. I was
so
like,
this-
Yeah,
first I was like, why are we doing this? And I'm like, nope, that doesn't sound positive. So I was trying to figure, so why are we, what did you? I was trying to figure out how to label it.
you know, to me,
Sounded positive.
and this is just kind of a personal thing. I don't like PowerPoints where it's all words and you gotta read through everything. I'd rather have this and then we will take the time to talk about it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
So that's why these are just short blips, but in the presentation, we'll certainly go more into detail.
Even if it was just that why change, maybe.
Oh, I see what you're,
Yeah,
okay.
like
Oh, you're
that.
saying something more than the why.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm open to that. I struggled with that. So
Or what change?
Or why now?
Well,
That's the next slide.
That's the next slide.
Yeah.
So it's like, why and why not?
I'm going through the same thing. It's, you know, because the why not is certainly in, the why now is in the report. This isn't so much in the report.
I get it.
Because that wasn't what we were, the report
This is a forever struggle, because the last thing I want is a slide with 37 bullets of 20 words each, like.
Yeah.
This is a Word doc that you jammed, and you're trying, I totally get where you're going, and I support it.
Yeah, so let's just move on and then we can come back.
The only question I have on this slide though is the large increase in budgets, does it need to be in this particular slide? Because
Oh,
that's really not, is that a reason why? we're doing
well, that
this?
was one of them.
Or is that, I mean, I would think we want to present the positive of the freeing up the chief from administrative, those types of administrative, the other stuff that's in there.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I see it as sort of, it sounds kind of negative. If I was
Because-
coming and just reading it, I would go, whoa, there was a large increase in the budget. And I understand it's gonna be explained, but, maybe you wanna say, instead of something like that, something along the lines of change from volunteer to,
Well, see, that would be fine. I don't have a problem with just eliminate it. If that's where everybody's getting hung up on that, I don't have that because it's addressed later on in the PowerPoint. So we can eliminate that for sure.
just large increases is always like a, you
Yeah.
know? So instead of that, just say changes in budget or.
There you go.
And the only reason why I bring it, would word it that way is when you look at our financial analysis that we're doing, we're not really reducing that budget. So it's not like we're gonna be, it's not like we're.
It's not gonna necessarily save us money.
It's not addressing, we're not
Yeah.
addressing. it.
Yeah, okay.
So we're just.
Why don't we just move it?
Okay.
Or you can just change the wording.
Well, I'm comfortable with it, you know, to me, that's why I'm bouncing it off. So to me, I just eliminate, because I don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing that when it's coming later on.
Yeah,
So I'm fine with just removing it.
and the chief turnover is relevant. And I think the embezzlement problems. But from a foot, like it's extra information that I appreciate, but I also think if we're trying to like focus on the story, the more we put in here that isn't in the Word doc, I don't.
Well, but that's because you gotta remember, again, from earlier, it's not just the Word doc
Yeah,
anymore, it's also talking about option one. So you need to have information on why option one would be a viable option.
Okay.
So that's more why that's covered. It's kind of a mix now. You know, I mean, I just felt that we needed to do that if we want to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, you're on the right track. I just think
Yeah,
there's-
I don't know that I'd strike it.
Yeah, that one I think is important because I think it really has relevant, information for supporting option one.
Mhm.
So why don't we just agree that we'll get rid of the budget part?
Okay.
Yep, all right, go to the next one. So the no, why now, and this is right out of the report. The way the agreement reads is we would have to do notification this December with an implementation date of January of 2028. If we bypass that, the next opportunity to do this would be 2030 with an implementation date of 2033. So the why now, that kind of brings it into perspective on why we're dealing with it now.
Mhm.
All right. So this is basically taking a lot of different charts and kind of merging them. So it looks, you're looking at the last 7 years. So it shows the calls of service, it shows the percentages of what cross planes, right? The village percentages. So I've now shifted to the annual for village. And now this is the slide that shows, back in 2019, it was 67,000 and now we're at 286,000. It just shows you what, in a very short period of time, what has occurred.
So this particular part, this report here that you're doing is only dealing with the village. This village,
Except for the calls for service.
no, I'm talking about the report because
Yes.
is to village residents and to village
Yes,
staff
when
employees.
it get,
It has nothing to do with the town.
correct. So the report is for everybody. Option one, we're looking at the advantages to the village.
And that's what this.
Yes,
Okay, just want to make sure that.
yep,
Right,
yep.
you focus on that.
And I have another question, and I hope you guys forgive me because I.
Before we want, this is the first time. Bobby and I just put this together on the fly, really.
Do you see these changes because of, population changes? Can you relate it at all to numbers of people? In other words, is it going up because we have more people in 2025?
Originally, as someone who's been on this board since that, it has all tied to fewer and fewer volunteers. And so it has slowly shifted from having volunteers to almost, a lot of the shifts at full time now. I think it's in there, we have 4 full timers, I think 15 part timers, and then we have like 25 volunteers. Volunteers, I think are required to do 12 hours a month, something like that. There's a period, but you just can't cover 24/7. So
Right. Well, no,
there was a crisis. We had one full timer, I think, in 2019. There was 2020, right, when we went part-time chief and the full timer. And the next year we went full-time chief, full-time, and then we added another one each year.
And then also with regard to the actual population of people in the village, what was the population in 2019? Like now.
You'd
we're
think
at
like
what?
the
It was like probably, I'm guessing it was probably 38, 39. So I think prior to 2020 census, we were sitting around 38, 39, and then it went up to 4,149. Right now, we're at 4,000, according to Department of Administration, we're at, I think, 4,105.
Yes, that's well,
It is, but that really, the number of people only affects that middle town.
Mhm.
It doesn't affect the cost, because it doesn't matter if there's 1 call for service or 10 calls for service, you're still paying, for the people to be on call.
and this just pretty much demonstrates the difference between a lot more volunteers up in 2019 than are here that are happening in 2025. That's why the dollars have gone up, because we don't have as many volunteers anymore.
And modest population growth. I mean, there's gonna be with 8, if I'm hearing you right, population went up 8% or something, and calls have gone up way more than 8%, so.
Yeah, but the percentages pretty much stayed the same.
Which would tell you that all populations are roughly growing at the same percentage.
That's, again, I'm gonna be fully honest with you. That bottom number of 58.4, I will make an argument that is not correct. We should be higher, but like I say, I brought it up at the meeting and everybody was okay with us going down, but it didn't make any sense to me.
Halfway there anyway, so, right?
Well, that would be using 2024 number. It's for the 2025 calculation that we owe them for the budget.
It's always the year behind. It just seems odd that it's up, and then all of a sudden one drop.
Well, you should actually,
That's what percent is.
because I challenged this and people weren't too happy, they actually brought in a person from Carpsy, and he had given us the numbers of the first 6 months, and he had us dropping down to 54%. He had us adding 32 units and losing like 140 people in population. And then he had Springfield and Town of Cross Plains all adding like 27 or 32 units. And both of them say, we have not added that number of permits in the last 6 months. So there's clearly, I think there's consensus that there's something wrong with it. And you saw in the report, I had to modify even that number to get the household for the math to work. So there's something we have to look at, but
Prior to that, they never used Parks or these other agencies. We just went to the Town of Cross Plains and said, we people are in our district and Don Berry the same way as Springfield. They just gave us a number. Really, it's easy because it's over. So there's no real rhyme or reason prior to how we came up with those numbers.
and, you know, that's the thing. I mean, we just go in with what they have, but I certainly thought it was odd that we would go down 8/10 when we put up 32 homes. And, you know, I think Town of Berry, went up, not very much. But when I did a comparison, they only added 6 units, you know. And that was like 1.8%. Our increase was 3, almost 4%. So, you know, it's just one of those things we gotta work out. But that's the data that I can support, you know, with documents, so that's what we're using. Go ahead and click the next one. So this is, something I learned at the last meeting too, which I'm really happy about. So right now, we're in a traditional EMS model, which is basically you respond to calls and stuff. A couple of their staff is getting certified in community EMS model, which is more looking at preventing. Now, I've been through this in the police area. When I started as a cop, we were probably 85% traditional and 15% community. By the time I retired, it had flipped. So it's definitely a better model. So examples that they gave during the presentation is, let's say you have somebody that is diabetic, taking their medicine, so you're constantly taking them to the hospital. What you try to do is hook up support systems, so there's someone that's making sure they take their medicine, you know, that type of stuff. They do, you know, more outreach, and if it's someone who maybe has a mental health issue, getting the help that they want, so they're not called to it. You know, there's, I'm sure it happens, at least in Madison. I don't know if it happens here, but there's a lot of lonely people out there. So a lot of times they'll call a medical emergency or a policeman just to have someone talk to. So again, if that's the case, you try to reduce the calls for service by providing a better service. So that's what, you know, the model that they would like, to at least start looking at. And while I think it's absolutely fantastic, it's also going to be a lot more time consuming, right? Because you need to build the contacts. You may be able to. And other things that they're looking at is if someone comes out of the hospital, they can do some post-hospital. If they need to have bandage changed or something, they can provide that. It would be extra income, you know, to do that. So I think it's a real.
I think that is our future.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. So that's a real positive. But again, it will require more time because you got to build those relationships. You know how that goes too. You know, you got to know who to contact and mental health.
The idea is to reduce the acute.
Yeah, Yeah.
And it's a more holistic way of, engaging, but to your point, it takes time.
Yeah.
It sounds like, what social workers do.
Yeah, and that was some of the resistance for being in law, why are you turning this into social? I don't know, we're cutting down your workload.
I'm curious to know more about.
Well, they have, if you go, I think I have that, I can send it out to you guys all.
Yeah, I'd love to read up a little bit more
But
about
I think we did a pretty good job in the report, if I remembered, didn't we, I think I almost copied it verbatim.
describing it.
Yeah,
Is this on here?
let's go farther out. It's gonna be near the, cause I'm almost positive I did a cut and paste on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
There you go, next, if you go to the next page, it talks about traditional.
oh, yeah.
So it defines traditional, then it defines community EMS. Yeah, it's pretty positive.
How do you staff that though?
Well, you staff it with the people that you have, and
You use the folks you have.
yeah, and when you recognize that, that's what I'm saying, it takes time. So if all of a sudden you're going to a certain call, then you have someone kind of go when they're working, talk to the person, see if there's family, or if they're working with another agency, and if they do, you try to hook them up. We have Northwest staying, right here, that's a jump away, and they have all kinds of resources. And if it's someone, then you try to set up with them, because they have transportation, you know what I mean? It just takes work
Yeah.
to do that, and you do it in between your calls for service.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Fiscal
Huh?
impact on you, additional staff, will we have to have additional staff?
No, you should.
You should have to, really use the staff.
Yeah, it's just how you approach things. Yeah, we didn't have any staff on it. They just made you, hey, get out of your car and start talking to people instead of going to the same person every week. Hey, talk to them and see if there's someone who can help, and then make a phone call to their daughter saying, hey, we're coming to your mother's house once a week. It looks like she's lonely, and there isn't this. Is there something you can help us with to set it up? And here's a number to the senior center that might be able to help you work through it. Maybe have her go to daycare for one day, senior day. That's what you do.
And you're also utilizing people when they're right now sitting at the station, waiting for a call.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So this is again kind of right out of your grant. It basically talks about if all the townships stay, then essentially there's zero increase. It's pretty much the same. So I just did extreme. So if all the townships leave, that would be the added cost for the operating budget. For capital, we would have to pay basically 45% of the assets value minus the $46,000 that was in the agreement that they would have to pay us. So that's kind of what it is, all right, go ahead. So this is how does it impact village staff? This is, again, what we have in the report. It talks about, and I'll go into detail with some of these things already. You've all seen this, but that kind of just shows what they're getting for if they would come in with the village.
Well, the other thing from that slide too, you can also tell them that some of that's already covered because in the budget, because we're already paying outside consultants that would.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's.
Yeah.
So,
And that would be.
that looks like, oh, that's $3,500. That's gonna add to the budget.
No, and I think she just put a value on time. Even that, I mean, once Bobby puts the staff into the payroll, it's not like she's gonna need to do much, you know what I mean? It becomes part of the system, but it's still, there's a dollar amount for that value. There's a value to that time. All right, so, and then these are and again, this would be more, again, broad. I'm not looking to go into great detail on each of these, but again, it could be depending on what the scenario is. It could be covered by the current budget. There's, again, because all of this is tied to population, if we could increase the service area, get more population, price comes down. The closing of the TID, we'll know more in August, September, how realistic it is. Last year, it sounded pretty good that 87, 2027, we might be able to close it. So then the increment, then it was around 300,000 we'd be getting, so that certainly would cover. And then the other one is the referendum, go to referendum. And I would, I mean, it kind of, we could word it as just for this, or we currently need another officer. We could make it a public safety referendum. There's a lot of options, but that would be the other one to go to.
Yeah, there's so much context behind these that I think you need to put in. But if I don't know what TID number 3 is, like, I have so many questions in seeing this. How do I find out how to answer that?
Well, what would be, I mean, I'll go into what that is. I just wasn't gonna do the whole presentation for you. Yeah, I'll explain what TID 3 is. You know.
Yeah, and this is, again, the intent of this slide deck is to go over with.
Was we were trying to figure out, okay, the community is saying, okay, this is all great, but how are we gonna pay for it?
Right.
So these are options of how to fund it. And again, it's where we want input in. You know, someone might say, hey, I'm for, if you can use, I'll be for it if you can use the increment from.
Where do you think you'll use this slide deck? Is it for at a board meeting?
No, the board meeting would be much more detailed.
That's the word doc, really.
Yeah, the word, but even this would be much more detailed.
So this would be in conversations with people in the community?
Yeah, this would be, this whole slide thing, you know, we're putting it out now that we want to go out into the community. So, you know, we said in there, we're gonna, if EMS staff wants to have a meeting, we'll meet with them. Public safety, we've already got that on the books. If the townships want to do it, we're gonna plan to have a community meeting here. If they want to do one out in the community, out in the township, we'll do it. So this is more for the broad picture thing. You get into the weeds and then it just gets, you lose people.
There are reading decks and talking decks.
Yes.
This is a talking deck.
Right.
I got it.
Yeah. All right.
And closing of the TID, that'd be that 300, roughly 300,000 that you mentioned. That'd be annual.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
annual, so
Yes.
that covers the additional cost.
Yeah. Don't quote me yet on that.
No, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If that number.
Yeah.
That potential number was right.
Yeah.
It would.
Right. All right, and then the last would be the big one with any question. So, is there something you think we're missing here? I mean, you don't have to answer tonight, but here's what I would ask. If you can get it, if you have a suggestion, send it to Bobby and I, because we can't interchange because I don't want to walk you for them. So send it to Bobby and I, and I don't have a real problem with it. I kept this fairly, I think it's 10 or 11 slides only. Because again, I'm trying to hit, I didn't want to put together like 3 different ones. So if I was at a township meeting, I'd probably go through this in 10, 15 minutes. If we're at our Cross Plains community meeting, I'll probably spend 45 minutes, right? If EMS, some of them I'll probably spend a lot of time on, other ones that they don't really care about, I, go over lightly. So the slides are there. It's the presenter on how much time you spend on each one and how much detail. But the idea was just to put them up there. And like I say, I could spend an hour on each step. I could go way into deep, but then again, I could whip it out in 10, 15 minutes. Because some of the slides are not, other ones are not going to care about, right? Other ones they're going to care about, so you spend more time on them, depending on who you're
The slide deck is all about option one. You need to have a slide about it.
No, it seems like I mean, that would be where I see that coming up is if the board really wanted to look at one of those options. But if you read them,
But I'm saying
There-
even in for like the community, I'm thinking.
well, the problem with those is those are really not true options at this time. We couldn't pull them off in the period of time that we have.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, are we doing this or not?
Right, right. And it's a discussion of where everybody's at.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just thinking through.
no, those are good points and we kind of played with that, but, I think it was important to put them out there because that's gonna be, well, what are our other options,
Right,
right?
well,
So we at least named them and we,
if you start going down option 2 or 3, now you're at the, like, the 2030 cutoff, because it's 25 and everything.
Yeah.
else, right?
well, not only that, for option, 2, it would take a huge amount of time to try to negotiate with, another district, right? That would be, and then, if you look at the, hiring out, the break even point on that is when I talked to the guy, is about 10,000. And we're at about 7,000. And that's why when you see the numbers, they're a little bit higher. Well, a little bit, they're about 50% higher. Something like that, maybe a little less, 40%.
Yeah.
So really, and this is where, the discussion has gone. So I say we run with it.
Mhm.
So the next question I have is, and I go back and forth, do you think we should present this also to the board at the end of the month? Or is this just our piece to run with phase 2 of the analysis? I can go one way, we should inform them on it. Second, I'm worried that they see this and then when we do the one in September, they're gonna think it's the same, but it's gonna be, really different. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Can you position it as courtesy FYI?
Yeah, oh,
I
absolutely.
think that's how I would say.
Okay.
it.
All right.
Like,
So they're aware of
just so
it?
you're aware, this is
Okay.
the deck, this is not the same one that will be blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Looks good.
Just covering your bases.
Yeah, no, like I say, we talked about that, so again, some of these go both ways, so it's good to have you guys give your opinion on it. All right, otherwise, you guys think we're comfortable with that?
Yep.
So, certainly I will be involved in the presentation, but do other members want to be there and cover some of this?
I'm happy to be there to support you. I'm confident in your ability to represent it, but if you feel like it would be beneficial to have more of us there, we're happy to join.
Well, if you guys, and like I say, I don't have a problem with you being there and take a slide. You run with it. I don't have a problem with that,
I think-
but I don't want to delegate.
I promise, I think the more voices might, if we keep it consistent, like you,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
one consistent.
We're not jumping around between.
Right, but if Dave always handled, his piece of it, and then if he's not there, then one of us handle it, the stuff to me is not all that complicated. In the sense, it's just, you just gotta know the background, that's all. And like I say, we'll always be referring back to the report, and they'll always be together. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We'll not do this without someone not having the ability to read the report.
I trust in your ability to represent it.
Okay.
But I'm happy to be there.
Okay.
So that you can, there's something to be said for having physical presence.
Yeah, I agree. I for sure would like some of you there when we do a presentation to, the Public Safety Committee for sure. Because I've been pushing where I want committees to work together. So having people see each other, I think sends a really big message. So I'd like that. I think it would be also good if, EMS staff wants a meeting, that there's people that they can associating just not me, you know?
Yeah, very much.
So when those dates, so the 19th is the one, August 19th is the public safety meeting that we've already scheduled.
August or,
Yeah, August. They don't have a July meeting.
okay.
So yeah, it's August.
And you're gonna present at that meeting?
Sure, but if people want to take a slide, just let me know and, you know,
Is that 6:30?
no, I think they go at 7, if I remember.
They might be stuff.
I think they're at 7 o'clock maybe.
We'll let you know closer
Yeah,
to
Night
that.
owls.
Yeah, almost everybody, we used to all be at 7 and now some start as early as 6, but a lot are 6:30. There's a few 7,
And remind me, what is that committee?
public safety.
So it's here.
Yeah, yeah. All righty, anything else on this at all? We'll make that change. All right, so number 5 won't take long because this is discussion regarding impact fee. So I sent you what she has, Bobby has up there is the current. These are the current charges that we charge. And just to give and I'm just gonna give you background so you understand what I'm looking for. So state law allows municipalities to charge impact fees for new development. And the premise behind it is, hey, the reason we're building a well is because we got all these new people coming and we need more well. But obviously, all the citizens benefit from a new well, right? So for well number 3 that we have, they marked it as, okay, we believe the new developments should pay 28% of the cost of the new well. So then they do a calculation on potentially in the next 20 years where the development could be. They figure out how many houses, they divide it, and you come up with a number. So that's what we have currently. Go to the next slide. So if you look at the village, the new village park plan, they're making a recommendation to increase the fees for parkland, for playground, parkland, in lieu of land dedication for both conservancy and park. Okay, so those are the two that, one, we have what we're current at, second is what we're recommending. So one, those are what I want to look at what your feelings on the increases. All right, the second part of this is the impact on both of them. When you do impact fees, you have to do an analysis of what the impact on housing affordability. Okay, and what I have in this, I have the one that they used for the parks plan, and the other one that's in there is what we used for the well impact fee. Now, what I want in opinion, and I've always did what the parks thing, and I have this is when they do the affordability piece, they use medium house and blah blah blah, which to me is low because really the impact fee doesn't get people who already have their houses and built. It's new, so there's no way you're gonna get a house for $245,000 new. So, you know what I mean, the numbers. And then, of course, it's a guesswork on interest, but they've always, I think, the park one uses a 5%, I think.
When you say median or mean home value, is that assessed value?
I forget, medium household, they have the income and then they have, you'll have to just read it. I'm just explaining why they got what you got.
Okay.
And then, so two goals. One, what I think I'd like to see is if we each can take maybe another village and see what they do for impact fees, and it's just of a comparison. That would be one. And then two, what you're feeling in once we have that, filling in what, Parks, committee has recommended, and then I just really want your opinion too on the calculation of, affordable housing. If you think that it's a fair analysis of it, because we're all concerned about basically the affordability of housing, especially in Crosspoint. And when you look at how much a developer has to pay, you're adding quite a bit to the lot cost.
Yeah.
But there's obviously our cost too, so you gotta balance that. But anyways, so this is just the next thing on there, just to get you thinking, but I wanted to get this out to you so you had some time, but I didn't have time to really do a long explaining
Got it.
why you're getting it. So I was gonna do it here at the meeting for
Okay.
you to take a look at.
And I apologize, probably explained this. I was so keen on the content on the screen.
Yeah.
We're looking at this because what do we need to do about it?
Well,
Are our fees reasonable? Are we charging too much?
much.
What are we compared to other places?
yeah, just again, kind of doing an analysis.
You're giving us the free word to
Yeah.
have that conversation.
Yeah, so you have
I'm slow and I need.
That's fine. This is what kind of our task is. We're not gonna make a recommendation or anything like that. We're just gonna look at it and fill in because, they could be right online. I don't know.
I mean, quick scan of what I was reading, right? An affordable house in Cross Plains costs $235,800.
Yeah, when was that?
Right in the middle of.
This is an affordable house.
Well, yeah, that would be affordable, but they're using affordable in the sense of like, this is what people can afford.
If you use the median household income and a 10% down payment, so it's a.
Yeah, it's a formula that they use, but you
But then the average median value of the approximately home is $24,000 higher than that. So.
yeah. So anyways, I just would like other people.
Correct. I get it.
Yeah, we just kind of have to look at this, and again, it's not that, it's just one of these things that I think is on the list that we should be really looking at. So, does anybody have, I think most of this, I would hope, would be on most websites, don't you think? Ones are like Black Earth, Mazo.
Well, if we want to find a community of our size, and the other thing is the Parks Department or Rec Department done their homework to say, we are at the right amount of park?
No, that's in their report.
So are we under or over or just?
Looking at their growth rate, their calculation, we need 11 acres.
Where we are now, with the population and everything, 11 acres?
No, for the future, the next 5 years.
We should get an additional 11 acres.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hot. Well, yeah, you'd have to read, I didn't put the whole plan in there, but it's out there, the Parks and Rec, yeah, they did that, so you can see what they're recommending and stuff like that. But I was looking at just the finance impact, because they're asking to increase.
Well, I think the other thing we need to also know, probably talking to municipalities a little bit, what are those impact fees covering? Are we comparing apples to apples here too? I mean, what can we use what are these impact fees that we're charging? What are they being used for?
Well, I think I'm looking.
Where's that money going? I mean, obviously.
Well, when you do that, clearly the water impact, they have to go for what you're collecting.
Right.
You can't use it.
But what are we using the park?
Okay. We'll start at the bottom. So the sewer fees obviously go to the sewer utility. This one I would go to the Dane, Iowa plant, to help pay what we are charge what we pay them. This one was for the well.
Those
So that
three I
goes-
wasn't concerned about.
Yep.
It's what.
Yep, so the playground impact fee, every time
Yeah.
It's either when the building permit is pulled or when the lot sells, we collect this from the title company usually. And then that goes into a separate account. And then that puts in like a park or a playground in that neighborhood. So like Scenic Valley right now, they're planning their playground or their park space with all the money we've collected from the lot sales there.
Yeah, so much things to spend as well.
Oh, yeah, you have to do it within 10 years.
Okay, yeah, I know the well is 8 years. You have to spend that within 8 years.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'm hoping we're spending it as we go.
this one, yeah, the well is,
So basically, each home over in Scenic Valley is paying 1562.
The lot.
Per dwelling on the lot when they buy the property.
Yeah, that,
so
yeah.
they're paying all of these.
Some of them will, see,
Well,
it
not
says
the 92.
developer and stuff. It really, who pays it doesn't matter, it's just per lot
Per lot.
or unit.
Cause if the developer's paying it, he's adding it to the
Yeah.
lot. So they're passing that. Yeah. And so then these two here, a lot of subdivisions will not pay these in cash. They'll give you the land, you know? So yeah, like Scenic Valley, there's conservancy land there.
So that area.
Yep, we calculate how much they have to give us based on the thing, or they can pay this fee. So a lot of them will give you the land instead of paying these fees.
But some will wanna pay that because they get more money by selling the land as a lot
Right.
than giving us. So that's where the negotiation comes in on what the value of the land is. So,
Yeah, so yeah, that's
But-
definitely a negotiation.
yeah,
So that also explains to me when I asked the question to ago, why we were still collecting fees for like Creekside Crossing and Scenic Valley, because they're paying it as it's sold, as the lot is sold.
correct.
And I work with the developer, but I also am on the other side where we're buying land and developing one way.
Right.
We'll do something, so we pay it all, we pay everything wrong.
Right.
Yeah, usually it's the developer pays up front and then the homeowner pays as you go.
And then they-
Why we're still collecting it, the development was put together, it's like, oh.
No, we just have it a little different. All right, so does that kind of?
And those fees there are ours currently?
These
Yes.
are what we currently, yep.
Yeah, these are the current ones and the upper ones are the ones that.
Why does this look like a scan of a document?
Yes, it is, because when I printed it off
Okay.
our set, it came, we're half and half, so I had to cut it and paste it.
No.
All right, that's my style of cutting and paste.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you go on our website, this looks a lot prettier.
yeah.
That's a page on our website.
Doing rough,
No,
doing rough calculation, that's roughly about $12,000 to $13,000 per lot in land costs that were in, I mean, it's a significant chunk
Absolutely.
toward.
What about additional fees?
For what?
What's that?
What about additional fees? Are we looking at that at all?
I was just taking them one at a time because the reason I'm doing this one is because obviously Mike would like to get, his plan, what they've recommended in the plan done. And we have 5 years to do it, but I understand, every year we delay, every time we delay and another lot comes online, we're losing some money. So that's why I brought it up now.
right, or do we implement these new fees now, keep them the same?
So that's what we're looking at.
Well, I was meaning a new fee. I know, Holly had indicated looking at a fee
Oh,
for,
an
impact fee for ambulance or service as we get more people cost. I'm just wondering if that's something that would be entertained at this level or.
Well, you can do, but you have to do this research. You have to figure out, okay, why you're doing it and who's paying it, because it's only gonna be for new residents, so you can only give them unless they take it all, like,
Yeah, who gets the money,
playground,
what can it be
you've
used
gotta
for?
break it up where like the well, you have to have a calculation for that.
Is that something you would like to,
And then you gotta have, how does it affect housing affordability, you know? So there's, you can do it, absolutely. It's just not as simple as saying, okay, now we're gonna charge everybody an extra $1,000 for EMS. You have to go through the process.
Okay.
And as you can see, when you read these, and you can see it in both, one was the water report that we got, and talks about the reservoir, and you can see how they do it, and they have to do the how, you know, you've got to be able to prove that these new homes are demanding this asset. You know,
Makes sense.
yeah, because they don't want everybody to just start charging people all these fees and not have good justification, you know, as a revenue source. So, you know, it's not a tough thing to get over, but you do have to do your work, and you gotta have, you know, a calculation. You know, and you saw how that's why I did both. You see how they did the well, the reservoir, and then how Mike has done the pump. So that gives you an idea of what's involved in doing something like that.
And those are the only fees that we charge developers, or,
Oh, no, there's,
I mean, obviously you got your building permit fees and stuff.
yeah, and your plat, and they have to pay our staff, you know, engineer and stuff to get
That's
approval. This current one has to go to CARC and extend the service area. I mean, there's a lot of, and then they gotta put in all the streets and sewers and lights. You know, there's a cost there,
Right.
you know, and we take over from there.
I'm talking about strict fees.
Yeah,
These are the only strict, other than getting.
Yeah.
For
yeah,
plan review and stuff.
yeah, and then you would look at the whole building permit section.
There's another section.
Yeah, and they have electric, plumbing.
State seal, plumbing seal.
Yeah.
We only keep 10% of those anyway. The
Yeah.
rest goes to the inspector.
Right, but. All right, so does anybody have any, if we're,
Just have some light reading to do.
well, that, you know, I kind of do it, but I'd like if, you know, okay, Marshall is similar to us, so maybe if someone could do Marshall. I don't have a problem doing Middleton, even though they're much bigger, but just kind of see. I still would like to see what Black Earth and Mason does. So, and maybe Mount Horn, those could be those 5. Who wants to do what?
I'll do Mazo.
All right,
How soon do you need it?
our next meeting.
I'm gonna be out
Oh, you're
for
yeah.
a month.
Thank you, Blackbird.
okay.
I'll try more.
All right, Mount Horn, I'll do Marshall then. And we'll leave Middleton out.
Michael can do Middleton.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah. I can do Middleton.
Okay, you do Middleton then, all right?
Yeah, that sounds
I
fine.
totally forgot about that.
Do we want to have like a template that we all put our stuff into so that it kind of can stitch back together, or how do we want to?
You're making that awful complicated for a guy that.
You want me to put some together and send it out?
I think,
We can find a lot of it on their website or somewhere, right? There may be a document they're gonna hand you and say, here's.
well, the first thing I would go on their website, I've got to believe.
Buried in their ordinances somewhere.
Yeah, and then just make a copy, bring it to Bobby, and she can scan them all and send them to us before the next meeting.
I was gonna give it to you to cut and paste.
Okay, you can do that too. However you want to do it. We can get them all in one spot. Oh, man, you guys. It wasn't very straight. I didn't notice all.
You know, everybody does Microsoft, I could help do that.
Did I have AI run a report against all of our local municipalities and generate that for me while we're here? Yes, I.
All right. You just gotta be careful that the numbers are.
You have the model that I'm using cites where it got all of its numbers from.
And you already have it done?
One key represents the highest impact fee structure in the immediate area, charging
I wrote down, I was gonna look at one.
18, 13, 19 for single family dwelling, 12, 34, 58 for multifamily or park impact fees.
Oh.
Village is proposing a significant increase of 29.7%.
What's that income over there though? Is that a higher?
Well, I don't, yeah, I don't
Necessarily.
well, that's kind of interesting. No, that's it. But did you get all the other spots too?
I didn't tell it what towns to do. I said, just give me all the local equivalents. And DeForest, Belleville, yeah, it gave a bunch.
Oh, interesting.
I'll share it with you guys just so you're curious. I think I have everybody's.
Yeah, you should.
I think I do.
Yeah, because when I send it out so
Yeah,
everybody
I'll
else.
send it to you like, hey, if you're curious what AI does, and then this is what I would call a lazy prompt. I could tell it, give me this information for the following towns format.
Oh,
Love AI.
But yeah, I'll do it. So.
okay. All right. Sounds good. Anything else? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All right, thank you.
I agree, I'm like, should, the second that.